Howdy, howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my little digital slice of the grand land of Olean. So we took a little bit of a break yesterday from our read aloud of the Maximum Entertainment 2.0. So we're going to get into that next chapter real quick. But first, I have Magic Prediction. I have a magic prediction here. See if this will work. It's it right there. In plain view. We've got our magic wand. And we have a magic ring. See the little magic ring there? We're going to take the ring and it just simply jumps around. It's good times. And of course we can do all that because of the magic Sharpie. Yeah, the magic Sharpie. The magic is in the Sharpie. What? Now you're probably thinking it's in the sleeves. You're probably thinking it's in the sleeves. That was a little... I know what you're thinking. That it's in the sleeves. But it's not. It's not in the sleeves. Where it's at is in the Sharpie. Yeah, the Sharpie. You take this here like so. We're going to put it... Oh, wait a second. We forgot the middle part. Yeah, the middle part. That's okay. We got to do the middle part. The middle part. Yeah, see, it's in the middle. Then you're going to take this like this through here. And then we're going to tie the best knot that I know, which is a double knot. Yeah, and then that is going to make the ring... Oh man, I think we've actually tied... Well, never mind. The magic is there. The magic is there. I never expect it to work because I'm just baffled by the mysticism of it. So anyway, if you remember what I said at the beginning there, that the magic gets in the hand, not under here, not under here. The magic is in the Sharpie. Okay? Hacha! So when we take that and it's gone, you're wondering where it's at. Well, here's my prediction. It says it's upside down and backwards probably. There it is. The magic is in the Sharpie. This Sharpie? Wait a minute. Inside the Sharpie? What? You're not going to believe this. You're simply not going to believe this here. You're going to get a tool. Got to fish it out. It's in there. Oh, man. Look at how... What? It's inside. What? That is crazy. What? Oh, man. Wowzers. There's just so much to unpack there. So much to unpack. Get our wand over here out of the way. Let's get our ribbon out of the way. We're going to be thinking about that one for a while. Anyway, Maximum Entertainment 2.0. Let's jump over here. Hacha. Oops, we forgot to deactivate. Review. Activate. Wonder powers activate. There we go. Now you can see it. So we are on chapter 3 today. Hope you enjoyed that little bit of a magic show there at the beginning. I just kind of put that together for this. It's kind of fun. Chapter 3. Reactions. See right at the top of the page. There is only one purpose for doing anything in front of an audience: to get a reaction. Whether you're a singer, comedian, magician, musician, poet, or magician, if they stare blankly back at you, you failed. Doing something for your own pleasure may qualify you as an artist, but recognize that the entertainer requires specific audience reactions. So the question becomes, what reactions do you want? What reaction do you want for the trick as a whole? What reaction do you want for each moment within the routine? You have not completed your work on a routine until you answer these questions. The big three. As performers of mystery entertainment, the reactions we must value are: 1. Rapt attention. 2. Laughter. 3. Astonishment. Applause, another form of reaction, may follow any of the above. Ideally, every moment leads to one of these reactions, and anything that fails to deliver a sought-after reaction is filler. All performances have filler material. Sometimes it's the necessary explanations about why you're about to do what you do, or it may be the instructions needed to accomplish the trick. Other times it's the transition from moment to moment or from trick to trick. Regardless of the type of filler, it's an absolute fact that successful performers reduce such material to its absolute minimum. To put it another way, if I'm not enthralled, amused, or amazed by your words or your actions, and I mean every word and every action, I'm on my way to being bored, and entertainment will shortly be leaving the building. In subsequent pages, you'll read about specific insurances of well-known performers inserting useless, off-target filler into their routines. We all do it, but with a disciplined approach to our scripting and performing, we can nip and tuck our way to leaner, tighter routines. When I talk about necessary instructions, I mean phrases such as, please remove a card from the deck. Step over here and examine these 3 rings. Say, stop as I flip through the pages. Necessary explanations. Scientists use these strange symbols to test for extrasensory perception. The envelope hanging from the ceiling has been securely sealed and in full view from the time I began. This is a samurai sword used by nimble warriors in ancient Japan to slay enemies and open envelopes. When you write out your script, see the chapter on scripting and rehearsing, and when you watch yourself on video, rigorously assess which words and, equally important, which actions are needless filler. Separate those filler words and actions from the words and actions that progressively drive you toward your desired reactions. The best magicians and mentalists continually weave their audiences through the big 3 reactions. They seamlessly move from laughter to rapt attention and then on to the climax, the moment of astonishment. What? The broadcast category of the big 3 reactions is rapt attention. It's easy to know if you've hit this target. I gotta work on my posture. I'm all ugh. Just look at the audience. Are they deeply engaged in your words or actions? If you don't have the full attention of all, you've missed this target. You can walk down many paths on your way to achieving the rapt attention reaction. Your words may be dramatic, charming, I'm sure, heartwarming, fascinated, and interesting. Engrossing stories, especially those of a personal nature, unusual or useful information, strange but true. Here's how card sharks cheat you. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. People react to people. We respond when we see another person's emotions. David Blaine's first TV specials broke new ground in the way they showed us, the viewers, the reactions of his audiences, sometimes an audience of one. Blaine and his associates snubbed the usual TV magic special focus on the performer and his skills. Instead, they allowed us to bask in the gleeful and often awestruck reaction of those who witnessed his feats. more than anything else, it was the single decision by Blaine's creative team, focusing on the reaction more than the trick, that catapulted his specials into the ratings stratosphere. Magicians often fail to grasp the value of reactions, and they make one of two major mistakes. They don't allow the reaction to fully develop. They move too quickly to the next moment of the reaction. They don't put the reactor in a position where others in the audience can see and hear the reaction. This is actually a good time to bring up a story while I look for my ring that I dropped. It's over there. We'll come back to that. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do as part of this is I want to actually evaluate something in a filler episode of this series where we take a break from the book and we examine my show that I did. I did a Halloween show a couple years ago, and it's on my channel. So we will do a reaction video where we will do exactly what it's talking about here, and we'll be our own director, and we'll use this information to put it towards that, to reacting to my show, to see what I did wrong, what I did right, things like that. Then, besides that, the story that I wanted to share with you is this. So I did a birthday show for my daughter. So usually I have like one daughter that likes parties, and the other one likes to go do stuff. So for the party one, she likes the magic show. So I did this big magic show production. I did cups and balls, and I produced a rainbow corn at the end. Brilliant. I think it went pretty well. I think there was some. I mean, it's beginner level. It could be taken up to the professional level for sure. But it went pretty well. I think the concern that I have is this. This right here. They don't put the reactor in a position where others in the audience can see or hear the reaction. Now, one, I don't know if my daughter could see what I was doing, first off. I don't know if the audience could see what I was doing, in the sense that like they could see my performance, but could they see how the tricks were happening? So here's the biggest mistake that I made. As I was performing the trick, at the end, I wanted my daughter, the birthday girl, even if I were to perform this for any birthday child, at the end, I would want them to come up. I would want to do interactions with other kids, but at the end, I want the birthday child to be front and center because I give them the final load. I give them whatever, the rainbow corn, the construction toy, whatever it is that I load into the hat at the end is that I give to, like, here you go, this is for you. And then that's fine. And I think it's a really good premise. So, enjoy that. But basically what happens is that I pulled my daughter up from the audience and she stood right here. So I didn't really give her direction, and I didn't know, like, thinking about it, that she should have been off to the side. So, yeah, I mean, some things like that can happen, and I know for the future that it's important that they see the show, but it's also important that everybody else can still see the show. So I would script that next time and know, like, hey, this is where you stand, which still protects my show, because I perform it kind of like a street show where it's scripted, but there's some flexibility to it based on the crowd. A lot of crowd work, a lot of things like that. That's who I learned from, was street performers. And I love this idea of performing like that for a kids show, because I feel like it really opens up the audience to this impromptu effect. So that's my idea there. Now, as we get back into this, don't forget to check out Zenbuster Music. Yeah, that's what we're listening to in the background. It's a great royalty-free music channel that I'll put the link down below for you. I just like listening to it while I do my stuff. So here we go. Mentalists, especially fall victims, fall victim to this syndrome. They talk to people who remain seated in the audience. The performer can see the look of astonishment, but few others can. Much better to have the person stand. That way, the rest of the audience can share the excitement of the moment. Makes sense. So, like, if they're maybe you have an effect that doesn't require them to come to the front, but you still want them to be interactive and engaged. So you have them stand so that the focal point can be on them for a second as they join you symbolically for the finish, the closing of that effect. People relate to people. We laugh when others laugh. We cry communally. We feel the embarrassment of a volunteer's awkward moment on stage. It's making see, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it, which is making my brain keep jump to examples. We just saw this. My earworm of late has been Benson Boone listening to Beautiful Things. And so I like listening to the studio version, but I've been like binge watching all of his live shows and even some of his concerts that are out. And he did the Grammy show. And if you've seen it, you know exactly what we're talking about here. This is in reference to the volunteer or to the individual there, but he did something at the end of his show that I haven't seen anybody say anything negative about it, but it's definitely was like a moment of like forgetfulness. So it's just things to be weary of. It almost feels like it's in character for him though. So okay, so let's go ahead and get back into this and we'll try to minimize the interruptions. We empathize greatly with people we know and only somewhat less so with strangers. Again, the team behind the Blaine TV specials understood this. Magicians watched the first special and saw Blaine perform a double lift and a top change. And then they exclaimed they could do it better. What did the rest of the world see? Something brief about two cards changing positions? But mostly they saw a locker room full of Dallas Cowboys pro football players recoiling from what they saw, and then laughing and slapping each other in the moment of great and shared joy. On screen, the reaction lasted far longer than the trick. The entire show followed that. Oh man! The entire show followed that format, and the high audience ratings led to reruns and further TV specials. Actions and decisions that had magicians scratching their collective heads delighted the public. The Blaine team sold the sizzle, not the steak. That works in advertising, and you ought to let that adage guide you as you polish your performances. Whenever possible, sell the reaction, not the trick. Fizzle versus sizzle. A few years ago, I attended a public performance of a preeminent writer and theorist about all things magical. His 40-minute set consisted exclusively of card tricks, and during that time, I looked to my left and to my right, and in just my one row, I saw two people sleeping, and I saw others in the audience nodding off as well. This state of affairs set off a chain reaction. As it became clear to all that the audience's reaction was increasingly subdued, quiet begot quiet. What went wrong? First, much of his show was set up as an implicit challenge. I will fool you and you won't be able to catch me. But few in the audience cared to take the challenge. In the upcoming chapter on the 6 pillars of entertainment success, you'll read about the need to communicate your humanity. He didn't, and the audience reacted with chilly indifference. Then, too, I wondered, what's the point of his show? Rather than homing in on the above big three reactions, the subtext of his show seemed to be, I can do things with playing cards that you can't. Here, let me prove it to you. Now let me prove it to you again. One more time, but slightly different. Still not convinced? Then I'll prove it to you 10 or 20 more times. Z's, sleeping. Here's a performer who has mastered the technique of magic, but not the magic of magic. And of course, his typical specimen on the magic scene, he's a typical specimen. One might say that his target reaction was astonishment. He certainly achieved astonishment from time to time, but his 40-minute set, taken as a whole experience, failed to achieve solid entertainment for too many of those minutes. His setup for each trick rarely targeted either laughter or rapt attention. That is, when explaining what he was doing or about to do, he was infrequently funny and almost never heartwarming, fascinating, dramatic, charming, or anything else that pulled the audience into his world. Personal involvement came into play only for the few spectators who joined him on stage. His filler material overwhelmed the desired reactions of his words and physical actions. In the following chapters, we'll examine what he and you can and should do to avoid the problems he created for himself. Instead of demonstrating effects, let's make magic. Boom, there's chapter 3. Fantastic. So I did want to make a simple side note. This is a great idea. I think we should react to my own stuff as part of this. And since this is part of the self-reflection podcast, it's kind of its own thing right now, but it's still kind of a part of that. We'll be able to branch off and really talk about my performances, both on shorts versus long form and that Halloween special. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about that I have put a lot of time into, but that was last year and I haven't really got back into it yet, and I'm kind of running out of time. It's sitting right over here. So I might have actually pulled stuff out of here too. I might have to put it back in there. So this is my Easter show. This is an Easter magic show. This is my set list and the props that are necessary. And I spent a good amount of time thinking about this in a really interesting way. And the premise of this the premise of this show is it's an Easter party, and the story is we're getting the guest list ready, right? And we talk about who's going to be here. We talk about coloring the eggs, for the purpose of Easter. We're talking about the food. We're talking about a lot of fun stuff here. And the ending trick of that, the closer, is something really interesting because it's not a trick per se. I mean, there's magic involved there, but it's exactly what he's talking about in this book, where it has so much context with everything else, but the method is mute because it's a self-worker. Like it has nothing to do. So I'll walk you through it, okay? And I'm not going to expose like what the trick is itself, but here's what it would look like when performed. For those of you who are still here at the end, you're getting some magic theory today, and you're getting some insight into some really interesting magic principles. So, earlier in the show, I would have set up the guest list to figure out who's going to be here. Well, I have 2 baskets there. I have the Easter basket, and then I have another tin, but that's for another part of the routine. The Easter basket will have a chocolate bunny sitting in it from the very beginning. From the very beginning, I come out with a loaded Easter basket, candy and everything, grass, everything, Easter bunny, everything. And I set it on the table. That's how I enter. I have an Easter basket. It's got all the things in it. I go through the entire show. I talk about everything, but I never mention the basket. Ever. I don't even come back to it. It's over here off to the side. We're doing all this stuff. We're talking. We get down to the end. Now, I have 2 different directions that I can take with this. When it comes to the precipice of going into the finale, which is the Easter basket, I can either say, oh, we're missing somebody on the guest list. I wonder who we're missing. Right? We've gone through everything, and of course we're missing the Easter bunny, which is the bunny that's in the basket. And I really want to drive home that the kids should really be excited here, because now we're frantic, right? We're frantic. I'm going to go into the audience, and I'm going to be like, who's, where, wow, what's going on? And then from the audience, mind you, let me take a step back here. For one of the previous tricks building up to this, I'll have an audience member standing next to the bunny. But it wouldn't have, like, I will have positioned them in a place where the bunny's next to them, but that wouldn't have been what the trick was about. So when I come back around and where I position myself in the audience, I go, there he is, and I point to the audience member. There they are. And there'll be some confusion because I'm pointing towards the spectator who's still standing there holding something. And they're like, no, not Charlie or whoever. Not them. Out of the way. There he is in the basket. The Easter bunny. And so that'll be like the whole premise of that ending. And I'm even like smiling now because I really like mulled that over for a while for this to be the ending ramp up where I end in the audience and I'm not even anywhere near it. And then the reveal in the basket. Yeah. So that's the plan. That's the planny plan. And it comes from a very simple, basic trick that I learned years ago. Just a very simple thing. And that is something to really take to heart with some of the magic that you might be doing. That, for example, there is a setup trick that you can do that kind of works like this. So I'm going to use just half the deck here real quick. And we're basically going to have a card selected from the top. That's why I cut the deck, so I don't know what it is. Now, if I were to put your card into the deck, give it some cuts, then potentially I wouldn't know what your card is. Now, if I go through the cards one at a time, we can stop when I think we're going to get close to your card. I think the no, let's keep going. Okay, now I definitely think I got it. The next card that I flip over is going to be your card. 3 of diamonds. So this is a nice little trick that you learn in pretty much every magic book. Like if I were to teach somebody a card trick, I'd probably start with that one. And that is that's the key card principle. Now, the nice thing about the key card principle is you can do it however you want. You can make up whatever method you want. I mean, you're still utilizing the key card principle. Notice how I'm not really explaining how that works. I'm just saying key card. What does that even mean? So basically the premise is that you have 2 selected cards. One that you've secretly selected and one that they have selected. And those 2 cards are going to be joined together. So that when you mix up the deck, those 2 cards are still together. So as long as your card and their card stay together, you can find their card. But because of that comes with the infinite possibilities of the setup and the storytelling and the way that you can combine all that together to make their card just magically appear whenever you want it to from the deck. So Thank you, everybody, for coming along for Chapter 3 of Maximum Entertainment 2.0. Tomorrow, we're going to be back with Chapter 4, which is the 6 Pillars of Entertainment Success. Thank you, and remember, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome. And hopefully, we see you in the next one. But don't forget, blah, 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 blooper, blah, blah. I don't know. Don't forget to subscribe. It really does help out the channel over here. And over here, we've got a video just for you. It's in front of all this stuff. This stuff won't be there. It'll just be on the screen. Ta-da!